Nobody expected it to happen this fast. On May 1st, the Pentagon announced that the United States will withdraw about 5,000 American troops from Germany over the next 6 to 12 months. For a country that still hosts roughly 35,000 U.S. service members, the largest American military presence in Europe. This isn't the end of the partnership, but it's a very loud wake-up call. And the timing makes it sting even more. It started with words. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz publicly criticized the U.S. approach in the ongoing Iran conflict, suggesting Washington had been humiliated and lacked a clear exit strategy. President Trump didn't take it lightly. Within days, the troop reduction was ordered. And Trump himself later said the cuts would go a lot further than 5,000. That single statement shifted this from a policy adjustment into something that feels like a deeper reckoning in the transatlantic relationship. Let's be honest with each other here. For decades, many Europeans grew comfortable with the idea that America would always be there providing security while Europe focused on trade, regulation, and social programs. The U.S. spent more than its fair share on NATO, and bases in Germany became the central hub for American operations across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Ramstein, Grafenwehr, Wiesbaden, these places aren't just military installations. They're where American and German families have built lives together for generations. This withdrawal will touch real people, real communities, and real economies in those areas. But here's what most people are missing. This move isn't coming out of nowhere. Trump has complained for years that European allies don't pull their weight on defense spending. Even now, only a handful of NATO countries consistently hit the 2% of GDP target. Germany has been increasing its own military budget, but many in Washington still see it as too little too late, especially when tensions are rising in other parts of the world and American resources are stretched. The human side of this is complicated. For American service members and their families stationed in Germany, this means uprooting lives, changing schools for kids, and saying goodbye to communities they've called home. For Germans living near the bases, it means lost jobs in local businesses that supported those troops, from restaurants to housing to services. It's not abstract geopolitics. It's people's daily reality shifting. At the same time, this is forcing a conversation Europe has avoided for too long. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius called the move foreseeable and used it to push for stronger European defense efforts. Other leaders across the continent are saying the same thing quietly. Maybe it's time we take more responsibility for our own security instead of relying so heavily on Washington. What does this actually mean on the ground? The 5,000 troops represent about 14% of U.S. forces in Germany. Even after this drawdown, around 30,000 American personnel will still be there. The Pentagon says it will bring overall U.S. troop levels in Europe closer to what they were before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Some of those forces might shift to other allies like Poland, which has been more vocal about stepping up. But the bigger question everyone's asking is whether this is just the beginning. Trump has floated further reductions and even mentioned Italy and Spain in critical terms. NATO officials are in talks trying to understand the full picture, while some Republican lawmakers back home have expressed concern that moving too fast could send the wrong signal to adversaries like Russia. Look, this moment feels raw, because it is. For many Europeans, there's a sense of unease. What if America really does step back? For Americans, there's frustration. Why should we keep subsidizing European security when our own priorities are elsewhere? Both sides have legitimate points. The old status quo wasn't sustainable forever. The hopeful part? Pressure like this can sometimes produce real change. Germany and other European countries are now talking more seriously about boosting their own capabilities, investing in weapons production, and coordinating better among themselves. Whether that translates into actual results in the coming years will matter a lot. This troop withdrawal isn't about abandoning Europe. It's a clear message that the relationship needs to evolve from one where America carries most of the load to something more balanced. Europe is finally taking that message seriously, and that might be the most important outcome of all. The next few months will show whether this becomes a painful but necessary reset or the start of something more complicated. Either way, the era of taking the American security umbrella for granted appears to be ending. And for better or worse, that change is here.